Okay, this video will talk about how to create live input processing in Logic Pro. And this is a project window that I started with an input source as my microphone. And you can see that if I have my input and output settings set correctly from this point here in the audio settings, you'll see that my interface is selected. In the if you're in our computer lab, that might look different, but you can select your settings there. I have over here for my track, I have the input settings in the inspector here, and I can also see that this channel strip on the left shows my input source, and also this browser window which allows me to place effects. So if I click into this empty space, I get my menu of options. If I select delay, I can find stereo delay. And if I hit the record enable button and the input monitoring switch, I will now activate this plugin. Any plugin will have automated parameters. If I select the A key on my keyboard, just like we automated volume and panning, I can now automate parameters of my delay. So I can basically change the amount of feedback, or the amount of input, or the amount of filter in the delay. Lots of different things. But essentially, I can just basically generally set the mix accordingly. If I set the mix for the right channel and hit this input and hit record, it's going to record my voice and certain parameters of the delay line change. Notice that this slider is associated with my automation lines here. It's changing, just like volume and panning will change when you automate those parameters. So I can automate that and any effect that I place into my effects tray over here. So if I click into this empty space and I get my menu again, I can create the ring shifter. The ring shifter essentially harmonizes your input. And I'm selecting a fun plugin here, and I'm going to go ahead and trigger the input. And you can hear the effect it has on my voice. This frequency dial is a nice and easy target for automation. If I change the dial, so does my pitch. Check, 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 check. So if I go back over here to automation, and in my drop-down menu, I can find now my ring shifter. Since I've added that effect to my track, I now have things to automate. And so if I go over here to frequency, I can now automate the frequency as I record. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. See, now my frequency is being adjusted in real time with the automation parameters that I've set in my timeline. If I go back here, start over, you can see that my frequency shift is happening in real time. Things to keep in mind is that as you add effects, you can change the order in which the signal moves from top to bottom through effects. So for instance, I can ring shift before I delay, meaning that the ring shifted sound will go into my delay line, which will sound slightly different. Notice that my modulated voice is now being delayed. if I change the order and put the delay in front of the ring shift, that means my voice is being delayed before it is ring shifted. And in this way, we can create basically a dynamic texture with audio signal processing. We can also now go into the process of putting effects on field recordings. If I bring in a field recording, I can make an interesting texture by manipulating the found sounds of this. Let's see if I solo this. I can now perhaps put some effect on here. And soon we have some interesting textures happening with just a few effects. So our goal here is to create a series of textures with input sounds that are being manipulated. I have a sound source here that I can now put into my delay line. I have this. It's a piece of a recorder. And try to create a series of sounds, a series of layers.